I'm always fascinated how hard it must be to be in a band. I feel like you were very serious when you went into the recording studio, but even in that song, Getting Better, John was tripping on acid during the recording of it, and he kind of laid back. That's what I read. Wasn't that just completely debilitating to you that your partner is tripping? You're in the studio trying to work. Or is it just everything's cool?
It was, you know, it was crazy because he had a little pillbox.
Right.
You know, and he had his little sort of, you know, upper and his little downer.
Right.
And he thought he was taking a little upper. And so he goes, and we're getting on with the session. And he just comes over to me, he whispers, I took the wrong pill. I go, like, what did you take? He said, acid.
Oh, man.
Okay. Well, let's work around that then.
Really?
Yeah, so we just kind of kept going. And then at one point, George Martin comes in, who knew nothing about anything. He said, John doesn't look too well. I said, no, he's not feeling, he's a little under the weather. Because we had to hide it all from George.
Why? Because
George was a grown-up.
Right, he wasn't a kid.
He was an adult.
How would his behavior change if he knew that John was on acid? Would he have stormed out of the room and said, I'm not working with this guy?
No, I don't think so. No, he would have tried to cope with it. In fact, he said, let's take him up to the roof of the building where there's fresh air.
Oh, that's a good idea. He can jump off.
We better come with you, I think. No, not the roof.
So today's story is something I've been waiting to tell you for a while. This is a crazy story, and I know you guys are going to love it so much. So, having sex while tripping on acid, something that I'm not too proud of. I was with my girlfriend at the time just a little over a year ago, and I was with my girlfriend at the time, and the same girl, I'm actually talking to her right now as we speak, which is kind of funny to me. So I'm talking to this girl. I had this girlfriend at the time, and this one particular night we were going to see a movie. So I asked her to meet me at the local cinema by my house, and I asked her to meet me there. So she meets me at this theater, and we went to see like some movie. I can't even remember what it was. I just remember we saw a movie together, and we were just sitting in the theater doing what, you know, couples do. And so we get out of the movie, and I didn't have any ride home. Keep in mind, it was winter, and it was cold, and, you know, freezing cold weather and walking home isn't something I enjoy doing. So I just straight up said, I was like, do you have anyone that can maybe give us a ride? Because I called my parents and they couldn't do it. So she did have her permit at the time, but didn't have her license like she does now. So she called up one of her friends who's like, I think he's like 20 years old, which is hilarious to me. I'm like, why do you know this kid? He's like 20. And keep in mind, guys, she's like 16, almost 17. So I'm like, how do you know this guy? She's like, oh, he's friends with my cousin. I met him. He's like kind of a druggie, and he's a redneck. So this guy pulls up to the mall in a pickup truck, and like the pickup truck was literally just like a really, really rusted, shitty ass truck, and it had no fucking muffler on it. There's no muffler on it, and it literally makes more noise than like a huge stereo system would. So he pulls up in this huge, like crappy, rusted pickup truck that's the loudest thing I've ever heard, and he rolls down the window. He's like, "Get in." So I jumped in first, and I'm sitting next to this dude in the middle, and then my girlfriend's at the end, and I don't know why I took the middle. I'm a retard. I must have been because I was cold or something. And we start talking to this guy. I was like, yo, what's up? He's like, yo. I was like, I'm Austin. What's your name? He's like, oh, I'm not going to say his name in case he's watching this, but we were hanging out just on the way back to my house. I told him, I gave him my address. I'm like, I live here. I live like 2 minutes away. It's right down this road. So we're driving back, and we're having a conversation about how they met, my girlfriend and him. And then she actually told me they met off an acid trip, which is hilarious. She was doing acid with her cousin, and then she met this guy. And this guy's like, yeah, that was good times. And I was like, oh, you still do acid? He's like, yeah, a lot actually. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. So I actually got some in the back seat right now. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then when we got to my house, no one was home, because like I said, my parents couldn't do anything. I think they were out doing something. And I remember asking, I was like, yo, you want to come in for like something to drink or something? He's like, yeah, sure. So he came in, and I remember making this dude coffee. Like, I didn't have anything to drink that was too good besides like really shitty like juice. And I was like, yo, I got coffee. You want coffee? He's like, yeah, I love coffee. So I made coffee. I suck at making coffee, by the way. It was the worst coffee I've ever made. And we start drinking this coffee, and I'm talking to him more and more about what he's done. And he's like, do you smoke? I was like, yeah, I smoke. So we actually went out to his truck and burned. So we were both really stoned at this point, and that's when he just popped the question and asked, yo, do you want to drop this acid with me? And when I told him, I was like, you know what, why not? So I took the tab with him. There was only 2 tabs. I took one, he took one, and my girlfriend didn't take any, which is kind of, I feel bad. I left her out. I would have given it to her if she wanted to, but yeah, she took nothing. So she's drinking our coffee in this kid's truck right now, and we're dissolving tabs of acid on our tongue while smoking. He's got a joint, we're smoking weed. And I'm just sitting in this kid's truck talking to my girlfriend while I'm waiting for this tab to dissolve on my tongue. And he gets a call. Keep in mind, it's like 8 o'clock at night, later in the winter, like, you know, it's cold as fuck, winter. And I'm just sitting here, you know, dissolving this tab on my tongue, and I'm hitting this joint. And he gets a call on his phone, and he just goes, oh, fuck. I was like, what? What's wrong? And he just continuously keeps saying, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. I'm like, what? What's wrong? And he's like, dude, I completely forgot. I'm so sorry. I'm like, what? And he's like, I gotta go pick up my friend. I'm like, huh? You gotta pick up your friend? Like, you just dropped acid. You're like, what? Like, how? Like, I was just lost for words when he said this, and I knew it wasn't true. I had a feeling. I was like, there's no way this guy just dropped acid and, like, wants to just leave for no reason. So I let him. I just said, fuck it. Go. Do whatever you gotta do. So he peaced out. He left. And I'm still lost for words to this day, because it's like, I just took a tab of acid. What should I do? Let's go drive. So he must have really not liked me or something, like, to just leave like that. And, like, there's no way, like, I forgot to pick up my friend. Maybe he was telling the truth. I don't know. But he leaves. And the effects are still kicking in for me. It was taking a little bit. I was in the beginning phases, what I usually feel, which is just kind of like a high, a really off-putting, weird high. And I didn't think anything of it. Just kind of was relaxing, letting it kick in. And then my girlfriend and me went to my room, and we were sitting in my room watching that 70s show, which is my favorite show of all time. I love it. And we're watching that 70s show. I'm laughing at the jokes. It's the episode where Fez breaks his knee. And it's like a Halloween episode. It's really funny. I definitely recommend you guys checking that show out. And so yeah, I'm watching that 70s show, just kind of relaxing with my girlfriend, and we start doing things that a couple does, and then it leads to something else. And I'm sure you guys can tell what happened. We started kissing, and then it just kind of led into other things. So then we got undressed, and that is when things kind of got weird, because I was on acid, keep in mind, and I'm trying to watch this show, and not, you know, the TV was kind of like, it was kind of weird. It was like waving back and forth, just make it like, you know, I'm seeing the visuals, the strong visuals that you get on acid, because it is a very powerful substance. And so I'm sitting here completely tripping balls while doing my girlfriend. I'm sitting here and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing? And she looked at me when she got undressed. She's like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And we just immediately got, you know, you guys know what happened next. We started doing our thing, and of course I used protection. So I'm sitting here, and I go in hot, like a fucking flaring missile to the ground. I go in hot, and you know, I'm doing my thing. She's doing hers. You know, we're enjoying ourselves, okay? And that's when things kind of took a turn for the weirder side. I'm sitting there, and she's like, I'm looking down on her back while I'm doing this. We were in a position called doggy, if you've ever heard of it, doggy style. And God, I hate going into detail, but I'm sitting there, I'm looking at her backside, and it's just kind of like, almost, I could see it perfectly, and it was very clear and vivid, and I could see every detail. But then it got really like, almost like, well, obviously she was breathing, but it looked like she was going like a weird wavy motion. I can't describe acid. It's something I can't describe, but it's one of those things you have to experience for yourself, but I don't recommend it. But so I started getting this. I started staring at her, and she looked at me. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She's like, "You're staring at me weird." I'm like, "No, it's not you. I'm tripping balls. Like, seriously, I'm like tripping a complete balls." And she's like, "Yeah, he always has the most potent acid ever." I was like, "Yeah, it's pretty crazy." And I'm just looking around my room. My room is painted red, by the way, upstairs. At the time, it was painted red. Now it's like a beige color. And I'm looking around my room, and it's just bright red in my face. and I got this weird vibe. I literally got the vibe that I was in hell, and I straight up told her, I was like, we're gonna have to move rooms. And she's like, you know what, Austin? You cannot handle this when you're on drugs. We're gonna wait, okay? Just wait a few hours. You know, wait like till later in the night, and we'll just finish later. I was like, okay. She put on her clothes, and then from that point on, I just had to ride out the trip. I remember leaving my room, and I walked out of my room, and I was just completely like, what the fuck? I remember I said, like, my whole room's painted red, and I was looking around the room thinking I was literally in like an evil situation, so I had to leave the room because I was getting such a bad vibe. Like, so I looked at the wall and it was red, and I got scared and left, and then I went into the other room, which is my guest room, and I laid down on the bed and just kind of stared at the pattern on the bed sheets and like studied it for like a straight, like, no joke, I was staring at the bed sheets for like 30 minutes just studying the pattern, and laid there with my girlfriend. And there's a TV in that room too, so we watched Netflix in there instead, and we just kind of enjoyed ourselves. The trip was okay. It was a decent trip. It was pretty good. And, you know, from that point on, I learned a lesson, you know. Don't fuck your girlfriend while on one of the most mind-altering, most powerful substances there is. So, peace.
What's up, guys? So, in the spirit of Christmas, in the spirit of the holidays, I wanted to tell the story about the first time I did ecstasy, which was actually on Christmas Day. It's crazy because I never really actually thought about that until recently, and like how significant that is. Being that it's Christmas time, fuck it, let me just go ahead and tell you guys how that went. I honestly don't really remember exactly how it came about that we would do it or whatever. I remember back then I knew it as thizzles. That's what we used to call them, for real. And I obviously knew it was ecstasy, but the whole like lifestyle and culture of it was like super appealing because it just had like, it was centered around music, dancing, just like different colors and shapes of pills and different stats and different lingo and just shit that it was very appealing at the time. I was, 2009, I was about 17. Anyways, what happened, like I said, we opened up presents, sun kind of started going down at afternoon time, and for whatever reason, ex-girlfriend of my brother's brought it up. I think that we had even talked about it before, but we weren't like too serious, but she said, let's do it, we did it, and it ended up just being myself, my brother, and his girl. The memory of it is so blurry in certain parts, so it's really hard. I know we took it at my house because I remember driving to the homie's house. So we had to take it on at the house. I remember, oh yeah, okay. She hit up somebody she knew. And this girl is the girl I ended up picking up from all the time for the next like almost year and a half. She said, these are really bomb, you know, make sure not to take more than one. Drink a lot of water. She said, they're blue dolphins, which are like pretty legit, especially back in the day. I didn't realize what I was getting myself into at all, but I was down. I remember when she gave us the pills, she said, what did she say? Does it have a nice fizz? Or something like clever though, like, pleasure doing business with you. I don't know, I probably got that. Something like that. And I remember that being like, I don't know, it was Christmas Day. It was like the Candyman dropped off some candy for us. It was a trip. Anyways, we took him there. Ended up really starting to film, so we drove to the homie's house. I remember on the way there, like I hadn't seen Christmas lights like that since I was a kid. Like that was beautiful. From what I remember, I think we were playing like Christmas music mixed with like fizzle music, I guess. A lot of Mac Dre and shit. But I could just be picturing that in my head because all the Christmas lights. I don't know. I just remember specifically the Christmas lights being super legit that year. So we ended up going to the homie's house, kicking it over there. His mom and dad were real cool, you know, they would let us smoke and everything else. That was like the spot. When we walked in, they knew we were on something. And I remember the next day or after, you know, that night happened, them even talking to us about it, saying that we looked like we were fucking on speed, like we were tweaked the fuck out, which we basically were. And back then, it was my first time. I didn't know how to control that shit. I didn't know how I looked and everything else, like, but they could tell. So we walked in and we just like hi, like all tweaked and fucking rolling balls, and fucking walk right by them, and they just look at us like, what's up? What's up? Like, we go to the homie's room, and then we just kind of sit there, listen to music and smoke blunts, and just kind of sit there and talk and shit. And that was like basically it. It was the most like nostalgic, beautiful, bright, just tingly sensation roll ever, and it was like perfect as far as like a first time doing ecstasy. Jeez, even to this day, like I haven't really even sometimes when I do these stories, like I just get all involved in the memory of it and I forget, and I haven't really thought about it like that, like that night. But it was amazing.
Smoking.